All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 224 of the A15 Exchange. And well, ladies and gentlemen, all right, we got a doozy, as they say. All right, we got a doozy today. We got a lot to talk about in CFB, even though it felt like it was kind of a weaker week. But again, everybody's a fraud. Apparently, everybody is a fraud, so we do have to update the fraud watch and, just kind of all of the fraudulent activities that have gone on this week in college football. The NFL, apparently I was on the money this week with a lot of the picks, so it was a good slate to, at least at the time I'm filming this, for the first slate of those 1 o'clocks. But we'll talk about what happened in the week in the NFL. I finished watching OBX Season 4. I'll give my thoughts on that. And of course, it was a huge, monumental week in combat sports. So we gonna get to talking about the two fights that I have panned for probably close to a year, honestly. If we're combining probably the times they've both been announced, probably around a year I've been panning both of them. And they both ended up the same exact way I told all of you they were going to end up. So, of course, I got to talk my so we gonna do that, all right? But as always, all right, everything you're looking for in this life can be found in my description. So you want my social media links? You want to see, again, it was a mad homecoming week. I even chronicled it for you on my IG story. So if you want to follow me there, feel free to do so. Those are in the outro. And of course, like I said, in the description. Timestamps are also in the description, of course, embedded in the video. It's long form content. Some of these videos get close to an hour. Sometimes you don't have an hour. Sometimes you just want to hear me cook Dana White, cook Jake Paul. Sometimes that's all you want me to hear me do. Skip ahead. All right, go to your whatever segment. Of course, if you want to hear me talk for, and yap for an hour, I appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate you. Y'all that out here that do that, I appreciate you. But at the same time, I get it. Skip ahead. Fine, what you want to watch. That's why I do it. So yeah, timestamps provided. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, let's get to business at hand. You know what? I was going to do combat sports because, traditionally we used to do combat sports, as the leadoff. But we're going to do college football because I want to build up my energy for combat sports because we got to get into combat sports. So I want to build up my energy, warm up through this college football segment, all right? And boy, oh boy, do I get to warm up hot. Colorado takes out Utah 49-24. Ladies and gentlemen, Travis Hunter is now and honestly, it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. Outside of social media, Trav really didn't have that crazy of a day. But he had some absolutely amazing, a bit maybe fortunate plays, right? He showed off the ball skills in full and in its entirety in this game. He had a pick, which came off of the deflection, but still, his third pick of the season. He joins the 70 reception, I think it's, 70 receptions, I believe. 70 reception, 3 interception club, which is literally just him twice in Champ Bailey. That's a pretty elite group. And boy, if Champ Bailey is the comp, then that's a hell of a career Trav has, awaiting him. Because Champ Bailey was a hell of a cornerback in the NFL. But yeah, Trav has a big day. He also had that rushing touchdown, which he just kind of made it happen. And then, of course, that fourth down ball from Shadur, who, by the way, had 340 and 3 touchdowns himself in this game. But once again, I want to highlight, even though, of course, Trav, like I said, looked like the Heisman, Shadur looked like QB1, and Colorado is still rolling. And again, they did play Utah. But I do want to point out, all right, they made Isaac Wilson, who we thought at one point was going to be out with mono, but ends up playing. He made the freshman quarterback's life a living hell. All right, he threw 3 interceptions, had 4 turnovers in this game. He did have 2 touchdowns. It wasn't all bad for Isaac, but boy, oh boy, oh boy. This Colorado defense seems to have flipped a switch. All right, they have flipped the switch that we have settled into this season, and they are playing again. The best I've seen this Colorado defense, especially up front. 4 sacks, 9 TFLs. We're going to be talking a lot, all right? That's the reoccurring theme, besides everybody being fraudulent this week, is great front sevens and a lot of TFLs. We're going to be talking about a lot of TFLs. Of course, the next game is going to have the most, but it's going to be a reoccurring theme of when I talk about who won these games, who showed up in the front seven and got that pressure this week. That really determined games. So, yeah, Colorado been looking real good. Trav, he might just be the Heisman, all right? It seems like it's him and Jeanty. We will see. Shadur continues, again, to stay hot in Colorado. On fire, all right? And they're about to get Juju Lewis. We'll talk about that in a second. Clemson and Pittsburgh, all right? Clemson gets it done 24-20, and they almost didn't. They almost didn't, but Cade Klubnik from 50 yards out with Clemson's season on the line. If Pittsburgh wins this, I think they vault Clemson and have a chance at the ACC title. If Clemson loses this, they can forget about the playoff. With the season on the line. And it had been an absolute sicko's game of the year. And honestly, this enhanced it. But still, sicko's game of the year. All right, this was a sick game, okay? Some disgusting, revolting football being played in this game. But it was also entertaining, which makes it a sicko game. But Cade Klubnik goes 50 yards. The safety got absolutely torched on this play. He takes it to the crib. Clemson gets the touchdown with 1 minute and 16. They're able to hold on and barely escape the win and escape with a win versus Pittsburgh. Cade, shout out to him. Though I do have to give a shout out. Antonio Williams is a special talent. All right. I've just been waiting for him to break out. Maybe this was the breakout game. 13 receptions, 149 and 2 touchdowns. But yeah, Antoine, he's a very, very talented receiver. I think he comes back next year, and I think he has a big season with Cade, who also I expect to come back. And we'll see what Clemson can do with that as long as, they don't compromise themselves the way we've seen them compromise themselves the past 2 to 3 years since Trev left. Now, TJ Parker also has to get, a shout out here. All right, because we will talk about these defenses. Because though it was Sicko's game of the year with some bad football, there was some great defense in this game. All right, 4 sacks for TJ Parker. 8 sacks total for Clemson. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, not 10, not 11, not 12, not 13, not 14, not 15, but 16 TFLs in this game for Clemson. That is not a typo. That is not a me misspeaking. That 16 of any game I've featured on this channel, I can't remember a team having 16 TFLs against another team. Even in some absolute blowouts. Insanity, all right, from that Clemson defense. But that wasn't it, all right? R.J. Mickens, he also had 12 tackles, 2.5 TFLs. Desmond Reed had 10 catches, 108. He led the way for Pittsburgh. But it was not enough. Kyle Lewis, by the way, 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 3.5 TFLs. But it wasn't enough. But Pittsburgh, they also joined the tackles for loss party. We had not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, not 10, not 11, not 12, not 13, but 14 TFLs for Pittsburgh. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is in fact 30 combined TFLs between these two teams. An absolute defensive clinic in a way, but some absolute sick football. However, Cade does get it done with the 50-yarder to keep Clemson alive. And yeah, Clemson escapes by the skin of their teeth. I'm so glad that Stanford is, again, though I missed the Pac-12, I'm so glad we don't have to play Stanford anymore. I'm so glad. And by the way, USC got the win this week. Jaden Maivia might be the guy. All right, he may be the guy. Even though I loved Miller, maybe Jaden is the guy. But, boy, oh boy, do I love not having that trap game against Stanford. Yeah, Louisville fell. They succumbed. Boy, did they succumb. Yeah. It was the Mosleys, all right? It was not the Mosleys. It was the Emmets, should I say, for Stanford that get it done. Emmett Mosley catches 2 touchdowns. They were down 14 with 10 minutes to go in this game. 14. And they were able to get it done and win 38-35. Mosley, of course, like I said, catches 2 touchdowns. And then Kinney, all right? Emmett Kinney goes and hits a 52-yarder to win the game and get the upset over Louisville. Ashton Daniels had 298, 3 touchdowns, and a pick in this game. Emmett Mosley the fifth. 13 receptions, back-to-back. Again, some great receiving performances as well. Besides the defensive performance, some absolutely scintillating receiving performances this week. 13 receptions, 168 and a hat trick. He had a monster game. Duke Watson had 117 and 3 touchdowns. Chris Bell actually helped out for Louisville, so it wasn't just a Ja'Cory Brooks show, though he did have 9 and 104. Chris Bell had 9 receptions, 112 and a touchdown, but as I always say, it was not enough. All right, giving up 14 unanswered to lose the game in the fourth quarter is brutal, but honestly is the most Louisville way this season for that game to conclude. And like I said, ACC, welcome to the Stanford experience. Florida. All right, they've been in free fall. It's been nothing but pain and like quite literally literal pain for Florida fans this season as seemingly everybody's gotten injured. They have lost a bunch of games and all of the hope for the season had been vanquished. But LSU just finds a way, man. Brian Kelly just finds a way to give teams that are suffering. He's so generous. BK is just so generous. You know, Florida down in the dumps, and what does good old Brian Kelly does? He lays an egg in the swamp, and Florida gets the win 27-16. Simply put, DJ Lagway outplays Garrett Nussmeier. That could be the title for this game. Even though Lagway didn't play this incredible, crazy game, but he showed more as a freshman in terms of what you're bringing to me today than what Nussmeier did. I can't keep giving Nuss passes because he has glimpses where he looks good and glimpses where he's bad Nuss. All right? And right now, I feel like bad Nuss is starting to outweigh good Nuss. So is it really worth it? Not saying they need a quarterback change, but he needs to play better. All right, Nussmeier has to play better because it is costing this LSU teams. The same way I said Carson Beck needs to play better and needs to answer the call. Nuss needs to, and unfortunately, I think it's too late. I think this loss probably puts them out of the playoff. But yeah, Nuss had a horrific day. We had 7 sacks and 11 TFLs for Florida. So yeah, great defensive performance. James and Sapp led the way on that, front 7 in that defensive line. So yeah, Florida. Huge win. All right, absolute huge win. I mean, the season probably not completely lost now. Getting this win over LSU because there's a chance you can make a bowl game. And this is why bowl games mean something. This is why not getting that 6 wins, giving other teams, these teams that aren't going to the playoffs, something to play for, something to reach for. That's why you need bowl games. All right, Florida has something to fight for, and they get it done versus LSU and pull off the upset. They won't be the only team that gets upset. So don't you worry. All right, don't you worry, LSU fans. However, the other Tigers in the SEC, yeah, fraudulent. Okay, and it's not just LSU that's fraudulent. Okay, Missouri. It's very interesting, the contrast between South Carolina, who they played in this game, and Missouri. Two teams just trending in opposite directions. Mizzou was the dark horse earlier in the season, right? Maybe a CFP, can they make something happen? The big three, Brady, Luther, Nate, it's a dangerous team. Top 10 preseason ranking. South Carolina, on the other hand, it was like, okay, not too big of expectations, but maybe. We'll see what happens. And boy, oh boy, have they surpassed them. They get the win here, 34-30 over Mizzou. There were 31 points scored here in the fourth quarter. 31. And unfortunately, it did not go in Mizzou's favor. Even though Luther Burden scores with less than 5 minutes to go, they're thinking, okay, just maybe. But of course they lay an egg, as they have the entire season. And by the way, Lenore Sellers probably plays the best game of his career so far. 353 and 5 touchdowns in this game. He did have a pick, but that doesn't matter when you go 353 and 5 touchdowns. All right, we can live with that ratio. All right, South Carolina and Beamer will live with that ratio. And yeah, South Carolina, just good stuff. Nate Noel did go for 150 and a touchdown, but it wasn't enough. All right, it wasn't enough. The Gamecocks continue. Again, I think Shane Beamer has this team headed in the right direction. The players are buying into that culture, and I think they're building something. I think they're building something down there in Scar land. So we will see what happens. But Mizzou just got to be so disappointed with the way that this season has fallen out for them. After, expecting to maybe even make the playoff, being one of the best teams in the SEC, to middle of the pack. Back to usual. Back to the mean. So, yeah, tough, but South Carolina gets it done in the fourth in the clutch. Arizona State takes out Kansas State. Yep. Yeah. How many times have we said this, ladies and gentlemen? We had the bad Avery Johnson this week. 2 picks. Maybe should have ran Giddens some more. He had 14 carries for 133. Just saying. All right, just saying. But I do have to give some credit, like I said, to Arizona State themselves. Now, normally we talk about Cam Scatterbo. If we're talking about ASU, we are talking about Cam. He has been that guy this year. He has. He wasn't necessarily that guy in this game, all right? Levette played a great game. 275 and 3 touchdowns for the ASU quarterback. Jordan Tyson had 12 receptions, 176 and 2 touchdowns. Another great receiving performance this week. And Arizona State Kansas State didn't have it. It felt like they sleptwalked, right? It felt like they sleptwalked through the first half of this game. And when it was too late, they were like, oh, wait, we need to lock in and get something going. And by that time, like I said, it was too late. They couldn't get anything going. They couldn't. ASU was in the flow state. They had the game under control, and that's what they did. And a great job offensively, a great job defensively, a very complete game for Arizona State, and they get the upset. Georgia, Tennessee was the headliner this week. And of course, as I panned Carson Beck, and that was the TikTok clip last week, would he answer the call? This was the easiest layup, by the way. The easiest layup. If Georgia lost this game, as I said last week, they needed to take a long, hard look in the mirror. Okay? Because not only would they have been out of the playoff, but it would have been like, man, where did it go wrong? But yeah, Georgia did what expected. 17 unanswered points gets them the 31-17 win. Carson Beck plays his best game of the season, 379 and 3 touchdowns. So no Beck slander this week. He looked like a competent quarterback, the guy that Carson Beck is supposed to be, and not who he is. Right? Not the reality, but what he's supposed to be. That is who he was in this game. So yeah, credit to Beck there. 5 sacks. All right, they had 5 sacks on Nico. Nico very much so looked like a quarterback again, who is seeing these lights for the first time. And that has been an issue, I will say. As talented as he is, it has been an issue. I'm not horribly convinced that Nico can be that guy currently to win Tennessee big games and elevate them. I just don't think he has it yet. Will he have it in the future? Maybe so, but he has not had it up to this point. Dylan Sampson continues to be, again, needs to be in Doak Walker conversations. All right, 101 and a touchdown in this game, even in a loss. But Chambliss had a big day as well for Georgia. And yeah, Georgia defense was able to hold in. Tried to force Nico to win it, Try to force Nico. That's the game plan right now for other teams. And it was one that worked for Georgia. Classic performance for them. And they get the win. A much-needed must-win versus Tennessee to stay alive. And yeah, not the end of the road for Tennessee, but SEC continues to cannibalize itself. Kansas. All right, Kansas and BYU. Again, Jalen Daniels played like this year's Jalen Daniels, so we didn't rewind the clock for 2 straight weeks. But they did get the win, all right? They do end BYU's undefeated season. Devin Neal did have 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, Kansas, all right? I don't know what happened, after that bye week. But, hey, looks like y'all remembered how to play football, so we'll take it. But, yeah, tough one for BYU. Again, not the end of the road. But it definitely hurts. But yeah, the Big 12 just got a lot more interesting with BYU taking that loss, though it still looks like them and Colorado are in command here. But we will see what happens, okay? And to round up this CFB segments, we weren't done with that. The upsets, by the way. New Mexico did take out Wazoo 38-35, so let's cancel the Pac-12 or the remnants of the Pac-12 championship, which is next week, as Wazoo plays Oregon State, who also lost this week. So yeah, not great. All right, not great. Not great at all. Speaking of Oregon teams, the number 1 team in the country, Oregon, quite literally did everything they could to lose this game, but do get the pick at the very end. They were a Wisconsin competent quarterback away from getting upset here, though. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. So, yeah, Oregon barely survives Wisconsin. I think that's a little bit of a welcome to the Big Ten if I've seen one. Ashton Jeanty continues his Heisman bid. He got almost shut down in the first half, but then went ballistic in the second half. And Boise State, they are in a playoff position. They are heavily favored to take a playoff position. We will see what happens. Jeanty, of course, continued to fight for that Heisman. He breaks the Boise State rush record. He's over 1,800 yards this season rushing. 26 TDs, I think he's got. So, yeah. Well deserves to be in that, in that realm right now. I think it's him and Trav as the top 2 candidates. Of course, Trav has a lot of hype right now when they're building the campaign. So, he's the favorite, but yeah, I wouldn't rule Jeanty even if he's not going to break Barry's record, and we're not really on Barry Watch anymore. I wouldn't rule him out because he is having a fantastic season with no great quarterbacks this year. It definitely has left the window open for that great, beloved non-QB Heisman winner. So we will see if it'll be AJ or Trav as we go through the last parts of the season here. And to end off the little kind of walkthrough here, USC does a little bit of a trade in of 5-star quarterbacks. Hussein Longstreet, who recently really hopped up on USC and Lincoln Riley's radar as Juju Lewis finally decommitted. And yeah, immediately got the commit from Hussein. So yeah, Longstreet in, Juju out. Juju probably going to Colorado. We will see. But ladies and gentlemen, that was CFB. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the segment you've been waiting for. Okay, this is the segment you've been waiting for. Combat Sports. Okay. We got two scheduled crash outs here, ladies and gentlemen. So let's settle in. All right, you may have skipped to this one. All right, this is probably going to be one of the TikTok clips. I might do multiple because we got multiple crash outs to do. Of course, we're going to start off in boxing with Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. And I want to ask all of you that put U.S. currency on Mike Tyson at 58 years old to win this fight. I want to ask all of you who legitimately thought 50-year-old retired combat sports veteran who smokes weed most of his days, Mike Tyson, was going to win this fight, was going to be competitive in this fight. I want to ask you, what the hell were you thinking? Please. Actually, you know what? Don't. I don't want to hear it. Honestly, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your explanation for what made you think that Mike Tyson had a chance in hell of even competing in this fight. I don't. You watched a little sparring footage of him, practicing and getting ready for this fight, and because he's Mike Tyson, you thought, oh, he's gonna beat Jake because you don't like Jake. No, bro. No, bro. This fight was exactly what happened. This is exactly what happens when a man, a 27-year-old person who has been training boxing for multiple years now in the prime of his athletic life, takes on a retired, over 50 fights, 58-year-old. This is what happens. This is what happens. All right? And of course it was a decision. I should have put U.S. currency on a decision. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I told you exactly how this fight was going to go for a year when they announced it. I told you every single time it was pointless. It was an absolutely pointless fight. Besides Netflix making a bag, Jake making a bag, and Mike making a bag. If you paid for this for any reason outside of the fights, the 2 fights actually that came before it, which were worth the money probably, or close to it, then I don't know what to tell you, man. I really don't know what to tell you. If you came to watch purely for Jake and Mike, then my brother in Christ, stop watching boxing. Stop, all right? Do not do it, all right? And you must be casual if you put yourself through that, because it might just not be for you. I have no idea what y'all expected. This was exactly what I expected. Of course it was terrible. He walked out with a knee brace. Once again, no need for the rigged. This is just what happens, all right? It wasn't like a force or it wasn't like a fake fight. No, it was a bogus fight in the sense of it shouldn't have happened. I don't know how a state commission can allow this to happen. But in terms of what happened in the result, Jake, working him for 8 hours, 8 rounds, even though Jake really didn't do much in this fight and probably honestly let off the gas, I think, a little bit just to, make sure his friend didn't get, he didn't want to be the guy that, KO'd Mike Tyson. Not that he had a great performance, but not surprised. All right, not surprised. I don't know what y'all expected. Bozo-ass fight. But Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor was that heat. All right, another classic. They have put together 2 of the best fights in women's boxing history. Some might say 2 best fights in women's boxing history. So shout out to them. Though I will say, as much as Katie's a legend, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time, some might say the greatest of all time, I think Amanda beat her this time. I will say it. Listen, you either could go a draw at minimum, or I think Amanda won. Respectfully. She outstruck her. And sure, Katie did have those combinations which made this fight close. And while I was like, listen, if you want to make it a draw, sure. But yeah, I think if you had to give it to somebody, I think it had to be Amanda, not Katie. They give it to Katie. So yeah, Amanda does have the right to feel a type of way about that because she deserves to be in that kind of the 3 best female boxers of this generation are Claressa, Katie, and Amanda, right? And Claressa and Katie have that undisputed tag. They've been able to do that over 2 divisions, right? This was the opportunity for Amanda to do that and for her to feel a little bit robbed. She's earned that. But oh boy, probably the best fight of the week. All right, I will go on record in saying that. So yeah, shout out to Serrano Taylor for once again putting on for women's boxing. By the way, I do want to give a quick shout out before we go to UFC 309. Mario Barros and Abel Ramos was a very good fight as well. So again, the actual boxing on this card was good. The circus that was the main event was trash. I tried to tell y'all that, but if you listen to the boy, you may have had a good experience. If you didn't listen to the boy, then that's on you. All right, that's on you. Let's talk about, old men, elder abuse 2. All right, elder abuse 1, Jake Mike. Elder abuse 2, John versus Stipe. Once again, and by the way, with all due respect, and I've probably called Jon Jones the GOAT before on this show, but listen, the GOAT is looking a lot like a duck right now, and no amount of jokes is taking it away. No amount of jokes from Bones is taking this away. He has looked like a clown. An absolute clown throughout this entire past 7 days. Even after winning this fight, he has looked like a clown. Not nowhere near what the greatest of all time is supposed to do, or look like, or act, or be. He has not at all looked like the GOAT this week. Not at a single moment. You KO'd with a beautiful spin kick to the ribs. Beautiful. Beautiful. But once again, as I said for Jake and Mike, what did you expect? What did you expect? And honestly, there were less people on a 50-50 scale than Jake versus Mike. Everybody knew how this was going to go. Everybody knew. And Jon wants to go and talk about how this was a big legacy fight. This is supposed to be some big, like, cap, feathering his cap as the GOAT in his GOAT resume. You beat Stipe. I don't care. Nobody cares. You beat a washed Stipe. You beat Stipe after 4 years of retirement at 42. This fight was irrelevant. This was a glorified exhibition. Stipe got worked for a check. Dana paid him a check to lose. That is what happened. There was not a second. There was no chance to suspend my belief at a moment in time since this fight was announced that Stipe Miocic was going to beat Jon Jones. Not a chance in hell. This is not like some gym in your gauntlet. You beat Stipe. You didn't beat Stipe when it mattered. If you beat Stipe 5 years ago, maybe I'd be like, oh yeah, you know what? When we're talking about who's the greatest heavyweight in, UFC history, Jon beat Stipe. But you beating Stipe in a glorified retirement fight after he's already been put to pasture, I don't care. You pulled up the corpse of a man and KO'd him. I don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Enjoy the money. I'm guessing that's what you did it for. That's what you keep saying. But this was no means a legacy fight. If Jon Jones actually cared about his legacy and cementing his place as the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, you know who he would fight? The same guy that everybody is telling him to fight, but he keeps ducking for whatever reason he wants to conjure in his mind. He'd fight Tom Aspinall. You want to prove you're the GOAT? How about you, the greatest of the last generation, take on the guy who is the man right now in his generation? How about you do that? That's the money fight. That's the story. That would be the gym. That, old man Bones, not in his prime anymore, but you know what? He still beat the best of the heavyweight generation currently. That would be the legacy. That we could be like, you know what? When we're talking about who's the GOAT of all of this, who's the GOAT in all of combat sports, we could be like, you know what? Bones did that. You beating Stipe is meaningless. Meaningless. If he wants to fight Alex, sure. You know what? Why not? I think Alex might KO him. But if this is what Jon wants to go in the direction of his career to end it off, then sure, I have some great suggestions for who Jon Jones should fight next. Randy Couture, Frank Mir, or Brock Lesnar. Because that's the same thing you just did. Go fight them. Hell, go fight Chuck Liddell. Go fight Tito. Go fight them. That's the equivalent of what you did against Stipe. Do not claim yourself to be the king of anything if you ain't fighting the actual king. I'm done with it. Alright? I'm done with it. That fight was a farce. Even more than Mike and Jake, which was from like a health standpoint for Mike. This was just like a farce in a sense of the UFC wanted to pretend and Jon wanted to pretend that this was some type of a big headline fight. Nobody cared and everybody knew what was going to happen, and exactly what we said was going to happen is what happened. Legacy fight. Two of the greatest of all time. Yeah, sure. Okay. Whatever. Moving on from the disgusting main event of UFC 309, Charles the Bronx Oliveira, Charlie, is still Charles. Alright, Charles, that was some beautiful grappling. Alright, he is the greatest grappler in the history of the sport, and this is why. Alright, this fight was why. Alright, and by the way, that last round, absolute madness, and pretty much encapsulates both of their careers, right? Mike somehow by blatant cheated in this fight. Absolute blatant cheated from Iron Mike. The other Iron Mike, I guess, this week. But blatant cheating. But made it interesting. Thought for a second that is he going to put Charles, when he was landing those fists on the back of Charles's head, I was like, oh boy, is Charles about to choke this away? But yeah, he just wanted to make us sweat, and then he regained control and was just, flowing through submissions to submissions in the flow state. So yeah, Charles Oliveira, legend. All right, legend. He gets the UD versus Mike. And yeah, the rest of this card that honestly was not that good. Bo Nickel fell surpress. This is a great opportunity for him to, out-grapple, Paul Craig, one of the best grapplers in the division, and, pull some more hype, but he didn't do that. It was a really bad kickboxing match. That is what we got here at UFC 309, and it was mediocre, just like pretty much all of this card. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. This was a lot of glazing for Donald Trump. There was a lot of glazing for Jon Jones, but there was not a lot of good fighting. So yeah, a very disappointing card. But honestly, as I said before, many times, what did you expect? I literally told you, you could have, listen, I could have not even done an episode this week. I could have just rolled 20 minutes of me talking about how shit Jake versus Mike and John versus Stipe were going to be, and just letting my nuts hang of how right I was. I literally could have done that, and I honestly considered it. I actually put it in the group chat of whether I should do that, and a lot of people said I should. So yeah, that was Combat Sports this week. It was weak as fuck as expected. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not censoring any of that. Entertainment. Alright, entertainment this week. OBX Season 4, okay? Was okay. It was not my favorite not my favorite season, not my favorite episodes. I think it was cool to see Chase and Madeline's chemistry come back. I will say that, and I think they did a really good job with John B and Sarah. But Rudy and Madison have no chemistry. And now, of course, there's a bunch of rumors going around about why that might be. I won't speculate, but it was pretty noticeable. Interesting way. Again, JJ dying is not out of left field for me. I know a lot of people are upset about that because he's a fan favorite and people liked, how happy OBX was, but it makes complete sense for his character arc. JJ was always reckless and lived fast. Him dying is honestly realistic. I know if you wanted the dream state of OBX, then maybe he doesn't die and he miraculously survives that stab wound. But, with what they're doing, somebody had to die, and it was likely going to be JJ to put some stakes on what they are doing. So, yeah, not surprised, but, yeah, not a horrible season by any means. But, yeah, cool to see Rafe get a little bit of a redemption arc a little bit. I think, however, that is definitely inflated by the fact that people just love Drew Starkey. But yeah, OBX Season 4, not bad. Music, honestly, I didn't listen to anything. Alright, Corday and Nudie dropped, and I still need to listen to those, so we'll get around to that. But yeah, they dropped this week. You can let me know if you listen to it, how those were, but I did not get around to it personally. Now, the National Football League. Alright, the NFL this week was interesting to say the least. But very good results for myself. Like the Eagles beating the Commanders. Okay, it was just so good to see Washington come back down to earth after they've been too happy. Okay, it's been misery as a Cowboys fan, so I need somebody else to feel this pain. So I need the Commanders who were thinking that they were hot. Jaden Daniels was the greatest quarterback of all time. I needed it to come back down to earth, and the Eagles did that for me. Once again, Saquon Barkley is that guy. 146 and 2 touchdowns for him. He did not jump over body in reverse this week, but still another great week. Jaden Daniels hasn't been great. He's looked more like a rookie quarterback lately, so I feel like defenses maybe are just starting to adapt, and we'll see. All right, we will see what happens. But yeah, the Eagles are able to get it done, 26-18. They are in firm control now of the NFC East, at least the NFC East. The Lions are still around, and boy, oh boy, will we talk about what they did. But before we do that, the Steelers and the Ravens. The ball hit this man in the chest. Now, he did go on to score, all right, on that same drive. But I think what perfectly encompasses the Lamar Jackson Baltimore Ravens is Lamar somehow dancing out of the pocket, making a great play. Then he makes a great throw, and it hits his receiver dead in the chest. Supposedly the receiver that's supposed to be the answer for all their issues hits him dead in the chest because for some reason he forgot how to properly catch, and they waste some more time, and eventually they run out of time. I think that perfectly encompasses the Ravens. Lamar makes the magic happen. Everything looks good. Everything's in place for what should happen. And then it just doesn't. All right, it just doesn't. The Ravens fall flat on their face and give the AFC North to the Pittsburgh Steelers here, 18-16. The Ravens defense did not give a single touchdown in this game. Chris Boswell hit 6 field goals. 6. And they won this game. This was the most classic AFC North game. 2 great defenses and some absolutely disgusting offense. Alright? Some absolutely offensive offense. Alright? Russell threw a pick in the end zone. That was god-awful. Lamar threw a pick. But, again, I can't put it on him because they should have won this game. But, somebody else failed them. But, defensively, again, some great performances. Marlon Humphrey had a pick. Away had 2.5 sacks for the Steelers, who, of course, won this game. They did only have 2 sacks. Again, trying to sack Lamar Jackson, not always the easiest thing. But T.J. Watt was able to beat T.J. Watt in this game. Patrick Queen did have 10 tackles. Again, some great defensive performances. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, the Ravens will rue the day that they just cannot get anything done for whatever reason. It just feels like there's a glass ceiling and they cannot break through that glass. It's bulletproof. All right? They've shot at the sky many times and they cannot get through it. I don't want to talk too much about this. Just for the sake of Jaguars fans. They didn't have Trevor Lawrence this week. So, yeah, this game went about what you expected. 52-6. At one point, the Lions scored 6 straight drives. 6 drives, 6 touchdowns. Hendon got in this game. Again, I'm not going to laminate on this for the sake of Jaguars fans, but the Lions did not punt, okay? They are the best team in the league. And the Jaguars, you are one of the worst. The Rams take out the Patriots 28-22. New England, welcome back down to earth. And oh boy, look, it is November, and guess who's coming back to life? The Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, Matt Stafford, 295 and 4 touchdowns. See what happens when your receiving corp is healthy? It's just crazy, right? It's just crazy for the Ravens. Yeah, Puka goes 7, 123 and a touchdown. Cooper goes 6, 106 and 2 touchdowns. I remember when people were like, I wonder if they can coexist. Yeah, I think they can coexist, and they make this this Rams team, very, very dangerous. All right, very, very dangerous, I think, down the stretch. This defense, again, they played the Patriots, to be fair, but are playing better. So, a lot of positives. A lot of positives in recent weeks for the Rams. If they can get healthy, I think they can make a little bit of a run here to the playoffs, but we will see. But yeah, Rams get the win over the Patriots, 28-22. The Saints take care of the Browns, 35-14. Again, nothing too crazy happened in this game. Jameis almost threw for 400 yards and then threw an interception. So it was actually a good week for Jameis, but it was not enough. Taysom Hill had 7 carries for 138 and 3 touchdowns. So if you let Taysom Hill score a hat trick in this game, then you're probably not winning it. But boy, oh boy, did the Saints need to win this game, and they did just that. The New York Jets, again, continue. I mean, it is amazing. It is honestly amazing. They find a new way to disappoint every single week. It's honestly impressive. At this point, I'm impressed. It's like, how can I disappoint my fans in the most brutal way possible? And how do I do it every single... I mean, it's honestly astonishing. It's a skill. It is a skill. The Jets have a talent, and it's losing games. All right? How in the hell they blew this game to the Indianapolis Colts, I will never know. I will never know. They made AR look like a competent quarterback in this game, by the way. 20 for 30, 272, 2 in a touchdown through the air. He also had 2 touchdowns on the ground, so 3 touchdowns for Anthony Richardson in this game. Probably one of the best games of his young career, which again, against what's supposed to be an at least solid defense for the Jets, not supposed to happen, but hey, the Jets are the Jets, and they just cannot wipe that away. They just cannot wipe that away. Aaron Rodgers under 200 yards passing yet again. And it doesn't matter that Breece Hall goes over 100 yards total from scrimmage. It doesn't matter that he has 2 touchdowns. It doesn't matter that Quentin Williams had a sack in this game. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Because once again, the Jets, as they always do, find a way to lose this game. AR, of course, got the game winner with 46 seconds to go. They tried to go for 2. Didn't work out. But you know what? Didn't matter. All right? It did not matter. We did have a whole lot of touchdowns in this fourth quarter, by the way. We had exactly 3. I'm trying to calculate the points here. 7, 6, that's 13, 16. We had 22 points in this fourth quarter. But unfortunately, the 2 touchdowns went to the Indianapolis Colts, and AR again played a very, very good game. Played his best game of his young career. And the Jets find a way to lose, as they always do. Vikings and the Titans. Again, not going to eliminate on this one because who cares about the Vikings and the Titans playing? But the Vikings do get the win 23-13. They are very quietly 8-2. Even though they haven't played as well as they did to start the season, they are still 8-2. Which again, I feel like we've seen this story before with Minnesota in the past, and they've absolutely shit the bed when it matters. So we will see when they actually have to play some comp again. But for now, 23-13 gets the win over the Titans. The Dolphins are not completely mediocre. They do beat the Raiders 34-19. Much needed win. A lot of much needed wins this week. All right. Tua played a great game. 288 and 3 touchdowns for him. A-Chain had a touchdown rushing. Jonnu Smith had a big day. 6 receptions, 101, and 2 touchdowns for him. Cheetah finally scored. I mean, fantasy owners have been in a drought with him. But yeah, he finally gets back in the box. And like I said, the Dolphins played a really good game. Tua played a really good game. Minshew wasn't awful, but yeah, you only ran for 60 yards. The Dolphins defense did a really good job shutting that down. Brock Bowers got in the box. I did remember that. That was great for me. He had 13 receptions, 126, and a touchdown. So yeah, we might get the win this week in fantasy, to say the least. But yeah, Dolphins get it done, 34-19. And lastly, all right, a great back and forth game, a great NFC Classic North matchup, but unfortunately, the Packers still own the Bears. Even though Aaron Rodgers is gone to be a mediocre quarterback in New York, they still own the Bears, even in Chicago. Yes, it looked for a moment in time like the Bears could pull this off. Then Jordan Love just decides that he's going to win this game. They make it. Unfortunately, they don't get the 2-point conversion, which gives some hope to the Bears that they could win this game. Caleb finally does something right. It feels like for the first time in weeks. He gets them in field goal position, and it gets blocked because the Bears can only feel pain nowadays. All right, in the 21st century, there's nothing but pain for the Chicago Bears, and a lot of it is going to come from the Green Bay Packers. So that is what happened here, okay? That is what happened here. Jordan Love, like I said, came through in the clutch. Not the prettiest stat line, but when it mattered, he made the plays. Cut down. He did throw a pick, but cut down on a little bit of the far of the turnovers this week. So still very important for the Packers, who will be making the playoffs very likely at 7-3. Important for them to build some momentum. All right, again, in a bloodbath in that division. So you want to build momentum, and you got to beat a team like the Bears, even at home. And of course, the Bears will think this is a game that they probably should have had. But again, Caleb played better this week. All right, so you'll take what you can take. All right, there's a lot of rough weeks. You'll take a game that maybe you should have won, and you'll feel the pain, but you're rebuilding anyway. So, don't forget who you are. Packers, though, do get the momentum, and they still own Chicago. And lastly, to finish up, all right, with the afternoon slate, listen, we all know it, okay? The Falcons cannot, all right? It's NFC South, If somebody gets too hot, throws off the balance. So, Falcons playing the Broncos. You know how that's going to go. All right? Y'all know how that's going to go. I know how that's going to go. We saw how that went. Okay? 38-6. I don't even need to say too much. But I will say this. We discounted Bo Nix. Not that he's been great. All right? Sorry, by the way, I have hiccups. So if I'm, in and out here, just bear with me. We discounted Bo Nix, all right? Not that he's been great, but, listen, what he's done, he hasn't been bad, all right? And the Broncos, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, are 6-5. Of the rookie quarterbacks, besides, of course, probable rookie of the year, Jaden Daniels, he might lead his team to a playoff, We might see the Broncos in the playoff. Now, of course, a lot of that is due to the defense and whatnot. But Bo Nix had probably, maybe, the best game we've seen from a rookie quarterback this year, okay? 28 for 33, 307, 4 touchdowns for Bo. Very good stuff. Of course, a lot of that can go back, like I said, to the defense. I think Benito had 2 sacks. PS2 did PST stuff against Drake London and go. So, a lot of good stuff. Still a lot of very good stuff from the Broncos. A lot of impressive stuff. So, good stuff all around. All right, Denver fans, good stuff all around. Atlanta, y'all know how this goes. All right, y'all know how this goes. Can't get too high. Y'all can't expect too much because you know how this. You've been here, okay? 49ers. It was, maybe I just cursed the Rams, by the way, when I said earlier in the segment. I was like, you know what? They're healthy. They're healthy. It's November. They're dangerous. Because I said that last week about the 49ers, right? And then the Seahawks and Geno Smith goes, it takes him 2 minutes and 26 seconds, 11 plays, 80 yards to win the game with his legs, all right? He didn't play a great game. I feel like this is a classic Geno Smith game, right? He either plays a very average game, and then all of a sudden, when it matters, he comes through and delivers, right? And that's exactly what happened on that last possession. Now, Bosa, of course, by the way, great month for Nick Bosa. I mean, a great month for Nick Bosa. And I'm not even talking about football. It's just been a great month for Nick Bosa, but it all came crashing down in this game, all right? Even though he still had 1.5 sacks, he was visibly injured the entire game, it all came crashing down for Nick. So, they didn't have him for that last drive, and of course, not having one of the best defensive, players probably in the league. I don't know why I said probably. He is one of the best defensive players in the league, to be real. That can loom large, all right? That can have a very big effect. And maybe that was the reason, all right? Maybe that's what came through, and that was the undoing for the 49ers. But I think it was a really surgical drive. However, from Geno Smith. JSN, by the way, had a big game. Something about him playing in Cali, Rose Bowl. Then here today, he had 10 receptions, 110. Was missing that touchdown, but still a really good game from JSN. Looked like the JSN we expected when he was drafted out of Ohio State and the player he was there. So, yeah, all around, very clutch performance from the Seahawks. Very clutch from Geno Smith. And again, they tie it up with the 49ers. That NFC West, stays wide open. Not that the NFC South is not also wide open, but yeah, the NFC West also stays wide open. And lastly, the Bills and the Chiefs. It was always going to come crashing down at some points, and it came crashing down. All right, I can finally say the Lions are the best team in the league, and I have to be like, oh, but, the Chiefs are undefeated. Because they're no longer undefeated. All right, Patrick Mahomes continues to be very not Patrick Mahomes, okay? The whole, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was when Dylan Raiola came over and they had to, split their powers, and now they've both combusted, right? Raiola's playing terribly. Mahomes has not been very good this year. By the way, he's 2,208 yards, 12th in the league, 12 touchdowns, 9 picks, all right? Still top 5 in QBR, but it has not been a great year, to be honest, as we have said multiple times, for Pat. It's not. They've been undefeated, and he's found a way to win. But it has by no means been a great season for the Chiefs, all right? And, well, it's been a great season for the Chiefs, but it's not been a great season, should I say, for Pat. But it's always been the defense. The defense has been elite. Unfortunately, they ran into Josh Allen today, okay? Josh goes for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. He did have an interception himself. But, MVP Josh Allen came to play, all right? He came to play. He protected his crib. All right, very impressive performance against Allen, against one of the best defenses in the league. James Cook also had 2 touchdowns in this game for the Bills. Terrell Bernard had a very, very big game. 8 tackles, 1 sack, 1 pass deflection, and of course, 2 picks from Rapp and Bernard on Pat. And yeah, it eventually caught up. They couldn't keep getting away with it. Simply put, they could not keep getting away with it. Travis Kelce held in check here today as well. But yeah, told you. It was going to come down eventually. They just had to play the right team, and the Bills were the right team. They get it done. And that was the NFL slate for the week. Of course, we have the Chargers and Bengals today, which should be very interesting to see if the Bengals meet who are in a must-win situation pretty much for the rest of the year, if they can be competent on the road here in Los Angeles. And, of course, the battle for Texas, even though the Houston Texans are probably going to mangle the Dallas Cowboys, let's be real. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the roundup with no racing to talk about this week. Of course, as NASCAR is, off the grid into the off season. F1 will be back next week, of course, with the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We'll see if they can, in their sophomore year, if they can continue the classic that was last year. So, let's talk about hoops. All right, let's talk about the NBA. LeBron James. It's never going to end. It's never going to end. I think, and I posed this question to my group chat, to my friends. What is more impressive at this point? LeBron at 18 and what he did as a rookie, or LeBron at 40 now and what he's doing right now? What's more impressive? Because I think it's a legitimate debate at this point. 4 straight triple-doubles before last game, and the Lakers are back in winning ways. LeBron, he's still LeBron, okay? The king is still the king. The effery is going to continue until LeBron says, okay? Father Prime. I love that nickname. I need that to be a more widely used nickname for Bron. All right, Father Prime is what we are referring to King James as going forward. But yeah, big week for the Lakers, big week for Bron. De'Aaron Fox scored 60 and nobody cared about it. Honestly, I felt kind of bad. But then again, it's the Sacramento Kings, which, respectfully to the Kings fans, nobody really cares about the Kings, unfortunately. It's just calling it as I see it. Nobody really cares about the Kings on too much of a grand scale. Though I care about you, Kings. Which is why I'm talking about De'Aaron scoring 60, which just everybody passed up. I don't even think I heard about it on SportsCenter. It may have been on the tick. It was like Fox 60. Nobody, no posts, no social media. He wasn't trending. Nothing. Okay, nothing about De'Aaron. But yeah, he did drop 60 for those that didn't know. However, people were talking about Wemby dropping 50 for the first time in his career. So, yeah, probably not the last time, I would say. A lot of people were questioning his scoring prowess this season, and then he goes and drops 50. Now, it was against the Wizards. It's the Wizards, but still, very impressive performance from Wemby. And yeah, Spurs looking okay. I don't know if they're going to break out the way that some people thought they might break out this season, but, Wemby looking solid. Castle hasn't been too bad either as a rookie. Actually, and I didn't put this in my notes, but the rookie class had a better week this week, so we will see. All right. College basketball, very quick roundup here. Kentucky takes out Duke. I crashed out. I'm not going to say a lie to you guys. I crashed out. All right. I don't know why I crashed out, but I crashed out during this game. But yeah, Kentucky was the better team. They were simply put a better team. And Duke, for some reason, forgot how to shoot the ball, and that ends up costing ultimately, even though we did find out that Cooper Flag is in fact the real deal. Purdue also beat Bama, brings Bama back down to earth. I'm not wholly surprised about this, to be honest. Of course, they've got Sears, but I need to see more. All right, Bama needs to prove they're a complete team if they want to be taken seriously as a contender and not be a potential fraud. Even though Sears is going to get his buckets, I need to see more from them. And yeah, Purdue put them on warning. They get the win, get the early upset. But, it's early in college basketball, so these things happen. Very few teams go undefeated, and very few teams that go undefeated even win the national championships. So, not the end of the world. Not the end of the world, but I definitely did crash out after that Duke Kentucky game. Now, to end off here, staying with hoops, WNBA draft lottery was today. Of course, it's the Paige Bucker sweepstakes, of course. And the Dallas Wings win the Paige Bucker sweepstakes. They do win the lottery. They get the number one overall pick to presumably pair her with Enrique, which, I think Paige is so versatile. She's so adaptable. I feel like she'll make it work. And of course, Enrique was obviously very much so on Twitter. Very excited, talking about she almost passed out. I think this definitely bodes well for them keeping Sato as well, because she's a free agent. Of course, Dallas has, I think, kind of like not necessarily a restricted free agency, but they have they can qualify with an offer, essentially, to put that in layman's terms with Soto. So this, I think, definitely bodes well, knowing you're going to get Paige. So I think that's, a good step. All right, a very, very good step for the W and a very, very good step for, the Wings. However, it would have been a lot of fun to see her with the Sparks. It does make the Sparks pick very interesting. Of course, Kiki Irfan played with Cameron Brink, but Lord knows they don't need a number. They don't need another forward. They don't need another power forward, right? They got bigs. All right, they got forwards. If the one thing that the Sparks have are forwards, right, and that's what Kiki would be. So, with Olivia Miles playing the way she has so far with Notre Dame, she's back. A lot of people forgot about her, and especially with the way Hannah Hidalgo played as a freshman last year. But now Liv is back and hoop. Could it be Olivia Miles? I think that could be the choice there, because Lord knows the Chicago Sky are picking Olivia Miles if she falls 3. All right, so Olivia's going top 3, but is she going to the Sparks or is she going to the Sky will be the question. Of course, the new team, the Golden State Valkyries, are picking 5th. I think the Mystics got 4. So we will see. All right, we will see. And of course, we got a lot of basketball to play with the women and a lot of stars that could emerge and kind of fill those picks after Paige. So yeah, we will see. All right, we will see. But ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 224. I'm hopefully going to get rid of these hiccups I could not have timed that better. I could not have timed that better. I think this is my first episode with hiccups. I can't remember the last time I hit hiccups. Maybe I'm finally hitting that growth spurt, ladies and gentlemen. It's finally happening. It's finally, y'all are seeing it live. But yes, alright. Hope you guys have a great week. Alright, 1 week till Thanksgiving. And we'll see. I may be back home. We may get an episode from the 336. I don't know. We'll see. But without further ado, Ocho signing off.